debt collectors are using new tactics in 2024. That means the old ways of responding to and fighting debt collection aren't going to work as well, and you're going to need to try some new tricks of your own in order to overcome debt collection in 2024. Today, I'm going to tell you what new tricks debt collectors are using. I'm going to tell you the old things you might be using that aren't going to work as well anymore. I'm going to tell you how you need to change the way you respond to debt collection in order to overcome debt collection in 2024. My name is Mike Waslick. With my partner, Jason Ricardo, we have Ricardo and Waslick, a Florida law firm. And when debt collectors give you hell, we help you give it back. So the first thing we're going to pull out of the debt collector's bag of new dirty tricks is going to be increased use of social media and electronic communication. Recent rule changes from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau that govern how debt collectors can use electronic communications open up a new range of electronic and social media communications to debt collectors that they weren't previously comfortable using. But now, because there are rules and structures around how they can use them, now they have a safe harbor so they feel comfortable using them, and they're going to use them more than ever. And that's going to have two very important effects. Number one is you're not going to be able to hide from a debt collector by simply not answering your phone. You're not going to be able to avoid communications with a debt collector just because you don't open your mail. They are going to find you on social media. They will reach out, they will slide into your DMs, and they will ask you for money. This means that debt collectors are about to open up a whole new dimension of invasion into your personal space to reach out and find you in a place you weren't expecting them to be able to reach you. And as they get more comfortable using social media to communicate with you, they're going to use social media even more to find out information about you, to research you, to gather data about you, to hone in on their debt collection efforts, to find out exactly what makes you tick and how they can manipulate you into paying the money that you may not even owe. Another new dirty trick that debt collectors are going to use more in 2024 is the use of AI and machine learning to gather all that data, analyze it, and identify the easiest targets to squeeze money out of and the tactics that are going to be most effective against those individual targets. With all the data that debt collectors are now going to be able to assemble from social media, online sources, and other sources, they're going to be able to more efficiently process that and have computers define who the best targets are and what tactics are most likely to be able to work against those vulnerable targets. Now, this might work to your advantage because if you can identify ways in which debt collectors are identifying the easy targets, you might be able to position yourself as a hard target and avoid debt collector attention altogether. And later in the video, when we talk about tactics that you should use, we'll be talking about simple steps you can take to become one of those hard targets that debt collectors would rather avoid. Now, the third trend we're going to see is increased use of automation, artificial intelligence, and machine learning for generating debt collection communications, for sending them out, and for tracking how they are responded to in order to further refine their debt collection models. What that means is that instead of dealing with a human being who gets tired, who gets fatigued, who might give up, you're going to be dealing with a machine that is cold, ruthless, and calculated, whose only purpose is to squeeze money out of you. Those machines are going to be able to cross-reference all of your data across multiple different platforms and send automated messages on those platforms relentlessly so that you can't escape them. And because those machines are automated, because they don't get tired, because they don't get frustrated and they don't feel pain, they will not stop until they identify the best way, the most cost-effective way of squeezing money out of you. They will effectively be able to flood the zone with messages, try out what works, track what works, and adjust their tactics for each specific target that they're trying to collect from. This means they're going to hit a wider range of targets, they're going to do so more relentlessly than ever, and they're going to do so more effectively than ever. The AI revolution for debt collection, from their perspective, means a massive improvement in the scale of their messaging, in the targeting precision of their messaging, and the improvement of the effectiveness of tactics they're going to use to get more money than ever out of people just like you. And while this is good news for machines, corporations, and debt collectors, it's bad news for real people like you and me. So this revolution in debt collection technology means a lot of the popular ways people used to respond to debt collectors are not going to work nearly as well in 2024 and beyond. One tactic that's not going to work nearly as well as it used to be possible to simply ignore a debt collector by blocking their text messages or ignoring phone calls from phone numbers that you didn't recognize. But if you thought car warranty phone call spam was bad, just wait until you get a load of the new techniques that debt collectors are going to use to reach out to you across all of your email addresses, all of your phone numbers, all of your social media accounts across all different platforms in a way that you cannot escape. So simply ignoring them, that's not going to work anymore. Another technique that used to be popular but isn't going to work nearly as well anymore is going to be using these old form letter templates online. The templates that you find floating around in forums from 1998. The reason those letters aren't going to work as well is because debt collectors will have automated systems designed to scan, analyze, and generate responses to them that are designed to frustrate you and squeeze money out of you instead of giving you the benefits that you're hoping to get from writing those letters. And because the letter templates you're finding online are usually very, very old, they're not written with new laws in mind, and they're not written with the most up-to-date information, the most up-to-date laws and tactics in mind to make sure that your rights are completely protected. And because they don't have that up-to-date information, the debt collector's response is going to outmaneuver anything you think that letter is going to do for you. So it's important to understand going forward in 2024, when you write a letter, if you're using a template that's been around for a long time, it's probably not up to date, it's probably not going to benefit you, and it's going to be much less effective because the debt collectors are advancing and you're not. And for the same reason, this next popular tactic is also about to crater in effectiveness in terms of responding to debt collection, specifically using companies like credit repair organizations or debt settlement companies. The reason credit repair organizations are going to see their effectiveness fall off a cliff is because debt collectors and credit bureaus are going to be using machine learning to receive, analyze, process, and respond to each of those letters. And they will quickly recognize who is sending that letter, what form they're using, and what the weaknesses are in those letters. Because there's only a small number of software packages that most credit repair organizations use, the letters that they're generating fall into just a small range of different possible templates that the debt collectors and the credit bureaus are going to be able to quickly categorize and send out the most effective for them and the least helpful for you responses to those individual letters. And the same thing goes for debt settlement companies. It's going to be very easy for a debt collector to recognize when a debt settlement company is getting involved, and it's going to be able to tailor its responses to neutralize the effectiveness of those companies and their tactics. And the last strategy that is very common, was never very effective, but is about to get a lot less effective, is the shotgun approach to disputing everything without having a larger strategy in mind. Now, a lot of people think that disputing debt collection is just blindly sending out disputes to everything possible without understanding why. And then when that doesn't work, send another letter and another letter and another letter. Now, I've never been a big believer in the idea of just disputing everything without a strategy, without a plan. And while that sometimes worked a little bit, it's about to get much less effective. And the reason is because the debt collectors, by using automation, by using AI, and by using machine learning, are going to be able to crank out responses that are designed to frustrate you at a much higher rate than you're going to be able to generate disputes. They're going to outwork, out-automate, out-analyze, and out-plan you at every step if you don't know exactly what you're doing and don't know how to target their weaknesses. So what should you do instead? Now that debt collectors are leveling up their game in 2024, it's time for you to level up your game. Stop doing the old things that don't work and start doing these 3 things instead. First, it's important to know what the law does and does not allow a debt collector to do, and most importantly, how you can put things in place that make sure your rights are protected to the maximum extent allowed by law. One of the things we try to do here in this channel is educate you about the federal laws that apply to debt collectors and credit bureaus and how you can position yourself most effectively to make sure that all of your rights are protected. Next, you can use the debt collector's own strengths against them, just like a judo trick. One of the things they're going to get a lot better about doing in 2024 and beyond is figuring out who the easiest targets are. By extension, that means if they think you're a harder target, they're less likely to come after you because there are easier, more profitable people for them to go after. Now, we already know some of the data that debt collectors do pay attention to in order to figure out who's a good target and who's not a good target. And one of the most important ways that they make that decision is about who's going to cost them money. They're going to look at both sides of the coin. They're going to look at how much money they're likely to get out of you, but they're also going to look, most importantly, at how much it will cost them to get to that money. So if they don't think you're likely to be able to pay them off in the future, or if they think you're going to cost them a lot of money, they're likely to avoid you. There are services that work for debt collectors that provide them information. One example is called a litigious debtor database. What is that? That's a list of people who have a history of suing debt collectors and costing them money. What do debt collectors do with that information? Well, they're likely to avoid people who cost them money by filing lawsuits against them. That means that if you found ways in which a debt collector has broken the law and you file a legitimate lawsuit against them, you're likely going to get on a list. And when other debt collectors see your name on the list, They know that they want to avoid you because you're likely to cost them money. So that's why in this channel, we teach you how to identify when a debt collector has broken the law, and then how to use that to your advantage to make your debt collector go away for good. And not only will you make that debt collector go away, it's like you're putting their head on a spike outside your door as a warning to the others. You are not someone to be messed with lightly. The other side of the coin is that debt collectors will use that targeting information to identify people who don't have any money they can go after or are unlikely to ever be able to pay them no matter what techniques they use. And they're going to avoid those people as well. As we learn more about how debt collectors are using this targeting data to make those debt collection decisions, we're going to roll out more information on the channel so that you can be better informed about how to position yourself as a hard target that debt collectors don't want to mess with because it's just not profitable. And the final technique, and this is the one that's probably going to be evolving over time and will require you to keep up to date with the latest techniques and the latest information, is using dispute letters with a specific strategy and purpose in mind. So that when you send a dispute letter, you're not just thrashing around, but you're doing it for a specific tactical purpose that is designed to help you get to the outcome you are looking for at the end of the day. We talk a lot about dispute letters on this channel because it's important for you to understand what they are, how they work, and why they work. There are generally 4 things you might be trying to accomplish with a dispute letter. First, you want to gather information to help you uncover or even trigger violations on the part of the debt collector. And once you have those violations identified, you can use those as leverage to solve your debt collection problem forever. Now, the second purpose a dispute letter can serve is to shift communications away from those online electronic sources onto paper. Now, there's a couple reasons you might want to do that. First of all, those online communications can be overwhelming and inescapable. And so you want to stop those entirely. And there's certain things you can put in your letter that will stop those online communications because they're inconvenient to you. The second reason you might want to shift all communications onto paper is because then they have to put things in writing, and when they put things in writing, you can use it against them. And even though you can do that with text messages or social media messages, it's a lot easier to show a letter to a judge and explain why the debt collector's broken the law based on the paper that's in black and white in front of them. Now, the third thing you might want to do is to block those annoying communications altogether. A debt collector is not allowed to communicate with you in a time or place that they know to be inconvenient. So if it's never convenient for you to receive phone calls from a debt collector, you can put that in a letter. And if they call you after they get that letter, they're breaking the law. You can use that against them. If it's not convenient for you to receive Facebook messages from a debt collector at any time, then you can put that into a letter. And if a debt collector, after getting that letter, does communicate with you on Facebook, they're breaking the law. And that's a violation you can use against them as leverage to make them go away forever. So the fourth item is to block future lawsuits against you by the debt collector. Now, that doesn't mean packing your letter with overly aggressive or threatening language or legal jargon that you probably don't understand. Because when the debt collectors use AI, they'll probably tag you as somebody who doesn't know what you're talking about, making you a softer target and somebody they're more likely to go after. There is information you can put in a letter that will block their normal tactics and force them to come up with a custom plan if they want to sue you. That means more time, more money, and more effort, making you a less profitable target and someone they're less likely to go after. And if they don't do that custom approach with you, they're likely to trip over a violation, meaning you can countersue, cost them money, and make them go away forever. Now that you know how useful a debt dispute letter can be, if you have a strategy, a plan, and an objective that you want to use that letter for, you're probably wondering, first of all, how do I formulate that plan? And second of all, how do I write my debt dispute letter in a way that moves me closer to my goal? And I've got good news for you. Not only do we have a ton of videos on this channel that talk about how to use a debt dispute letter, why, when, and what to expect when you send one, we offer a free course on debt collection violations that goes through 53 different provisions of federal law and explains how a debt collector might violate them and how you can spot when a debt collector is violating them so that you can use that for leverage. And that includes some of the things that you're going to be putting in those dispute letters. Now, if you don't know what to put in your dispute letter, we offer a free sample pack of dispute letters that you can use to send to your debt collector to start putting those processes in motion. I'll have a link to that free sample pack in the description below. Now, if you want even more help, we also have a course that walks through each specific letter in the kit, explains how to use it, which one to choose, what to put in it, what to change in it, depending on what your goals are, how to send it, and what to expect in response. I'll also put a link to that course in the description below. Now, if you're still wondering where your debt dispute letter fits in your overall plan, watch this video I'm going to put on the screen right now. It's going to walk you through step by step the entire plan that you can use, a complete strategy for making debt collectors go away forever. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.